Ashafo, Yebema Munina Kwaba once again, Abba Ifidike says so Pinaxtv. This particular man on the screens, I friend Baba Jamal. Right now, no, he is the person this particular 2020 year 6 John Dramani Mahama be used as a scapegoat. Now make I say America creating a updates on this particular platform say a year Ayawaso a year West MP. Yes, the Ayawaso East MP. When you're the baby echo and yanko partner sa a friend. I'm talking about Ira Mahama. Now see, now Islam in Bremuno obi wa less than 48 and within 48 to 20, within 24 to 48 hours no. I will see nipa. So sa MP no meno ka say ni see no. And amamre kwan mu so no ne yere no so no sabiu also di ne hu sie no wo fie for some time, you know, because sisia no ono ye widow. But then a kwan ebe da wa na se Ghana brand church say MPB fimu within the next 1 month or few weeks no I will see a pay then obi sin na. And in this case, no, wakwa sitting MP, no, the party NDC has to organize a primaries. Into more organizing primaries up. Ombefo obia, and as ombepo obi to me di papa no, sebio na die. And in this case, no, I'm of be meaning including papa na obu ye na yere. Mind you, and you no kwana no person contest, and even Musa dankwa information or the buyer and na post or the buyer na say papa we are. Onyan baby kwaye Ayawaso East MP onyan baby kwaye ne yere e na post na chese obedi nkonim but sansem we kwoswa na obi so eyi ni ti a o party so no so person contest this particular election sani pay and an din and an picture e was screen. So I'm talking about Baba Jamal, who was recently appointed as a special envoy, Ghana special envoy and ambassador to Nigeria. But then Menuka say no bibi ama His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Menuka say he has sacked. Let's just put it out the way. He says sacked. Okay, he has sacked or he's been set aside from his position. So the big question is what really happened. Now in it that we need the internal primaries course. So our NDC within the NDC rank and file members are omunina echo contested to be the MP elects for Ayawaso East Wagon ahead of the February 12th or 10th general elections because Ayawaso East Wagon. One person you declare and say oh you winner this particular man Baba Jamal. Now one of the things which is shocking all of this is that Baba Jamal win here but kwa papa we efas win here a ho ena Mahama ebe mu Mahama Menuka say he has set him aside. Now the big question which is trending on social media, we believe say no crime the man Mahama, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the bufu your party said we need to take action, and yes sir, mistakes are MPP 4 year we will only repeat them, and by 2028 we'll lose power. So the whole election, Baba Jamal was declared the winner, but Baba Jamal is said to have bribed people with Kosia and Meko. We'll show you the videos. And aside from this Kosia and Meko too, he also was caught on camera sharing NASCO 32 TVs. Now, in some way, there's been a lot of reactions because in as much as people blame Baba Jamal, a party nankasa in Pennyphobi, Ababeka Sisi and investigated the matter, which means elections course so Baba Jamal was declared the winner. No, the results will be annulled, and the results could be annulled. No, Amount Fossa started to the late wife of Mohammed Nasir, that's the late MP of Ayawaso East Wagon. Now, before then, I bet to us share exactly what happened, the mood, and this same way in the first place. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, he actually stepped in to say, let's sack this man. After a sacking as well, you be used as a scapegoat. And even what broke the camel's back in all of this was the fact, say, Ebra Pawe TV, he had the audacity, the effrontery to go on air and say, TV is just motivation. And believes that this was one of the things, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama or party said, internal elections. we near fine, when we near fine. Why are you bribing people with TVs? Which means you are creating an impression. Say you NDC for no scan buya so. Before then, you question how Baba Jamal started sharing this TV and even statement or something to two afterwards. Yeah, Babaka, yeah, to us. So what you were watching on the screens, TV, sir, na Baba Jamal or Chiche, NASCO 32 TV inches TV. Now even Baba Jamal cried the no is just a tip of the iceberg because a particular candidate has shared motorbikes to all the polling centers. Yes, the polling centers near almost 120 or so. But then far from that, one Muji TV, they had this to say. Mind you, Baba Jamal said something, and we believe that this particular thing it is what really triggered His Excellency John Dramani Mahama to immediately set him aside from his position. But then you could see what this particular man had to say. A brown also GTV, and even arguments and a man for making say. NDC for mobile bay munche see master T the MPP for ya near friend vote buying.
For real. Me say no me baby I want. My gift to the Jubia. Or so because I a motivational song. A motivational song to the mouth that was also crazy. Okay, now make one of the guys say motivation to vote for. Once I say campaign, I can campaign more as a delegate. Which about and more of us delegates. This is our time. We cover to get as a delegate. We because about so select people. We want to better about constituency. That's the main key. By himself. Yeah. Nimbe vote share. But me to mention vote share.
Who's a fear delegate and a bit my Jamal.
For real. Fear delegates, also fear delegates there. Say that the war will be the sign of a war.
25 contestants in the Moa for Jubia.
Oh, David, and yes, over Jubia, but I was so Akumamono will be adding baby or for real. Missing me, maybe I want.
My gift to the Jubia.
Or so because I a motivational song. A motivational song to the mouth that was also crazy. Okay, now make one of the
so papa semano kana you realize say he was even holding wakwaji TV and up as on che bibi or what because wakwaji TV no bisu che motor bike wakwaji bike obisu chase wakwaji ska into where you were choosing the panimu back. But then Ghana's laws actually prohibit this and we term this as vote buying. But then far from that, same way we believe that this particular statement Baba Jamal be making and man for party say elections so why the hell are you sharing TVs as an inducement to the people and not the voters? And Baba Jamal so TV is just normal, TV is just for motivation. And His Excellency John Dramani Mahama or things and say no, this is not normal. You don't induce voters with your friend is saying TVs and things because yes I bedroom some opposition amu niska nkofo no omo ye den omo nkotro aba intin se Baba Jamal editu dwa immediately after this statement and na impenifo say omo ye investigation and na Mahama edi letter ba say papa no was setting aside.
This is the first time I'm gifting things to people. I have been, those of you who know me know that every Christmas, every occasion, every instant I have put down 2.5 million to give free loans to people. So if today you are giving, people are coming to vote and you are giving them something, you are not. It's not buying food. I speak. If you have listened to me carefully, I say, look, if somebody gives you gifts, you can take it. But allowing that gift to influence your vote is what is wrong. It's not a gift. It's allowing that gift to influence your vote. Then it's wrong. By giving gifts all this week, you think that you can bring people together and you won't give them water. It is not the item. It is the intention. Do you understand? And I don't think that
same way and Baba Jamal edituja. But then for those of you who are asking what happened, Baba Jamal was really declared the winner. Video Babaka, we will get into how Mahama and the NDC executives have to step in and say that they are sanctioning Baba Jamal with immediate effect.
88 votes for the two senators. Amina Adam had 399. Baba Jamal Ahmed had 431 votes. Dr. Mazindo had 45 votes. Najib Mohammed Sani had 1 vote. Total valid votes 964. 1 rejected. Total votes cast 965. Based on the results, Baba Jamal had the highest. He had 431 votes. I therefore declare Baba Jamal Ahmed as the parliamentary candidate elect for the Ayawaso Central Constituency for the NDC. Ayawaso East Constituency. Thank you.
So you could see clearly say in Sembono Krana form because the person who was really tipped to win him, for believe say all these swala na sa papa some candidates Nikunu anoye MP no yare the mu on no rani bibia, and people believe say even though she is the spouse of the late MP, she has all the experience to actually be the sitting MP. Remember, I said people were also having their own views on all of these issues. Meanwhile, MPP 4B started some more kasa or more party. We are not votes buying air cost no. NDC about just 2 years, so it is alarming. Now, yeah, sure that be the way. Yeah, I will hear in summer. Yes, Excellency John Jamal Mahama edituja together with a year in penny 4 on more party more party see an investigation into this particular more practice and vote buying issues.
What they are doing is because they know the seat is for the NDC. They are buying votes. One candidate can give 3,000 to each delegate. The NDC, the electoral college is approximately 1,300 delegates, including those who are dead and those who travel. And each person is getting 3,000 from a candidate. 2 days ago, a candidate distributed a motorbike to each of the polling stations. We have 113 polling stations. Each polling station, one motorbike. Do the calculation. Where are they getting the money from? Right now, as we can all see, the ambassador to Nigeria, who is also contesting the seats, is sharing television. Where did he get the money from? We want the OSP to also come into this to do his investigation, so that at the end of the day, what they are doing, they are destroying our democracy. Our democracy is diminishing because at the end of the day, if you don't have money, the right candidate, you will not be elected. Every time, bad candidates, mostly in Ayawaso, is 34 years of NDC representation, no development, no human capacity building. Yet still, they are buying people's conscience. So please, media, we have to do the needful. Thank you.
Thank you too.
Now, one person, all these are not Baba Jamal, so. Musa Dankwa. Remember, Musa Dankwa the polls be by now. Just Baba Jamal won't win this particular election, sir, and a primaries and a course. But then Baba Jamal, Edin Simbe 2 jar, not all parties say, or bet test it Musa Dankwa the theory. To show her say or say NDC's aspirant Baba Jamal says Ayawaso East Primary will test Musa Dankwa's credibility and winning. So clearly, you know, Ebra. Yedibe tuja so or no Baba Jamal Olusu, people actually prefer the female candidates now. Female candidate and Nikunebuno or no nanko for prefer no and Baba Jamal Edibe tuja say okay, even though Musa Dankwa kaso or no winning or bet test. So in testing Musa Dankwa the credibility no and of course or Chiche TV or Chiche Kusia to induce voters. It's immediately during the election and before that election, and in a bid to destroy data science, I hear things are happening. So clearly, let's just say data na a chess Musa Dankwa envy no or no dear wafano and also okay say me we need padia and me describe room me describe the room and no and the name so or this room His Excellency John Jamal Mahama immediately or buy or pass up power he needs to be sacked. Now remember sir, he's not the only person I said you or didn't sense him with before even His Excellency John Jamal Mahama or cast a position now Baba Jamal Kutano now the National Democratic Congress, which is led by one of their party generals, Fifi Kwethi, or the same Babe Tuja, or just a letter where I'll say NDC condemns the level of bribery in the Ayawaso East primaries and launches investigations. It was down the letter which was dated yesterday, the 7th of February 2026. Now, or say NDC condemns the level of bribery in the Ayawaso East primaries. Or say the attention of the national executives of the NDC has been drawn to the widespread incidents of inducement of vote buying allegedly perpetrated by some aspirants at the primaries at the Ayawaso East constituency today. The party vehemently condemns these actions in no uncertain terms as they represent an affront to the values and principles of the party and reset agenda the party is championing. The party is immediately instituting a full-scale investigation into the matter and will take a swift action against any candidates found culpable. The party also wishes to make it clear in the future that more drastic sanctions will be taken, including possibly cancelling elections when such incidents come to the attention of the party. This was signed by Honorable Fifi Kwethi, who happened to be the General Secretary. So the party says their course, which led to the vote buying and even how the elections was a fast election results play out. It didn't play out that way because Musa Baba Jamal took the polls a chesna olusuno and no koya all teaching scanning TV to induce voters for him to win the elections. Now no cry no from that home NIS Excellency John Jamal Mahama and also Odin Krata Baya. This is coming from the presidency communications. Or say President recalls Ghana's High Commissioner to Nigeria. So immediately when all of these things were going on, same we are now question His Excellency John Dramani Mam or no, this thing is actually not good, and also they be position or the Baba Jamal or no air recall or Jinadi. Intuition the whole screen so or say President John Dramani Mahama has directed the immediate recall of Ahmed Baba Jamal from his position as Ghana's High Commissioner to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The decision follows allegations of voter inducement in today's National Democratic Congress NDC primaries in the Ayawaso East constituency, in which Baba Jamal, a candidate, participated. In his directive to the Minister of Foreign Affairs recalling Baba Jamal as High Commissioner, the President noted that while the allegations of vote buying were made against multiple candidates who contested the primaries, Baba Jamal was the only seven public officer among them. The point is say even though Baba Jamal apparently report say why vote by or no and now I just say or no position or yes sir. So it portrays say sika we nye fia ban mu no and odi votes so the president has also noted the public statement by the General Secretary of the NDC indicating the party has commenced its own investigations into the allegations arising from the primaries without prejudice to the ongoing internal party processes and strictly in view of the standards of conduct expected of public officer. The president considers it's necessary. The president considers it's necessary to act decisively to preserve the integrity of the public office and to avoid any perception of impropriety or conflict with the government's code of conduct for political appointees. The recall takes effect immediately, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs has been directed to take the necessary administrative and diplomatic steps to give effect to this directive. and this was signed by signed by Felix Fosukwache MP, who's the spokesperson for the president, who happened to be the minister at the government communication. So that is exactly what is going on. Mahama part to say or matiti in Sembibri, and based on in some of Martinum or Muntimi now say enye high. Okay, make and share somewhere course and course because at the end of the day, no vote by year course no Mahama Emma some code of conduct no some particular code of conduct Excellency John Dramani Mahama or my no it clearly stated say oh yeah abaimu nipa face can come be in any way, shape or form. So clearly once Baba Jamal did this no code of conduct and now book the more say they should follow principles, no conduct you should follow. Though Baba Jamal has breached it. Now, MPP for Kasa, I'll say after winning the MPP parliamentary primaries, I was recalled as MPP commissioner for President Akufo-Addo to avoid a vacuum at the mission and to focus on the parliamentary elections. Others were recalled too. If corruption and abuse of power are truly the issue, the real threat simply is annul today's elections. Anything else is a smooth screen. The man for a purchase and the MPP for a purchase. Mahama tries to be ABB, but then if Mahama actually wants to do something, what His Excellency Mahama has to do is that and then their course, and that their course, no, idea time say abamu nipa etimi diska ebrim bribe for with TV, bribe lessons course kra no otimi di kusua mekonu kusua be si ho amamanfo e de omusa ko boom edi. This is clearly vote buying, and it even goes against NDC rules, any electoral commission rules. But then the thing for Mahama to do a Ghana for being so credible, or you'll be a 2 million or Tracy, no, the Obetimaya Ghana for Yabemus, okay, we will take him serious. It's for him and also the NDC itself to annul the results at buy. Results net buy Baba Jamal every year, I was some cancel. They have to cancel the results, and that is exactly what has to what should go on. So that is exactly what is really going on now. I know, sir, in some way, of course, no, a man for be obia I wanna change concerning this issue, but then this is the issue. Course so I tell you for a man for be can we know saying Baba Jamal has been taxed to step aside whilst investigation is ongoing. We suspect say from a now copy a year 12 a year. Wednesday, the elections, results will be announced and the fresh elections will go on, because what happened honestly was an affront to democracy. And therefore, twice I near called the camp of a year Asantehene and also Domahene. Now, the friction between these two chiefs, paramount chiefs, both of them are paramount chiefs, it is getting heater day by day. Now, recently, Domahene Edin Semi Betu just say, Otunfo say to Onama, not on the Asantehene flag and a Kotoko flag be esnim. Sa flag no, a chesa Asante mine and Asante for or more flag no. It goes against the constitution. And even far from that too, or no Domahene wa pick signal say, Asantehene edge to ewo kumase. Sa Asantehene edge to there, then it gives the notion say on hini bia owo krom eastern region bono region almost bit imagine or more tour. They can also take their own tour, which is toes, which once again goes against the constitution. And you know or no doma hina wakoye a sitting a high court judge or directly the Supreme Court, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, to tax and charge Asante Hini to stop taking any form of tolls because it against the constitution. Even far from that to flag no use as a Asante for flag and also against the constitution. He should stop it. And no, and I mean no can say okatechi FIFA or didn't seem be ababe to just said this man is in this country, Domahene, and now see it's no see. We don't know what Domahene wants and now what he is fighting Otunfo say to for. But then BB and Sam no corn a too much. If I could see a in Sama a year FIFA or the two jar or patches say we need to step in and solve this foolishness once and for all. If Domahene has any issues, then on can't magana for NT. But then at the end of the day, no, yenti mean sorry, they be a better son of papa way and friend or 242 spelling his name for no reason. The beba the new biana or can add in tea at a night or no dear now dream or challenge a year or 2 for or 62, which Ghana in him said the greatest king in this country no one. So greatest skin 2 and no one even comes close. Yenko tie nsema yenua bema oketiche FIFA or the when we come back, we will definitely continue with all of these updates.
Now, moving away from IGP Christian Tete Owuno and the promotions are what they are ama. Yanko share a year 1 2 1 2 1 2. Nana Doma Hene. Mianga Sami Papa. Nana Doma Hene Ajimambedu. I decided I was not going to make comments about One Santehene and Semubio. Because now I'm going to see a tour baby. It's a tour baby any day. And you may be a promise you one can kano. Kabema the peace that reign between Asante and Bonono. Anka awoho. Missy. Yaya nyanumba ako. About 20 na akoshe baby. Now we are creating tension between Asante and the Bono. Ejayemubi ye defend Asante. It came across as though ye ni enuanom Bono foko. We've sat down, we've reflected. We will not leave the space for you to make these commentaries unguarded, unchecked. We will still pass commentaries over it, except that it will be done differently. Eti nanado mahine mesen wada mama me no ni nkomo. Eti se wo hwe domafo so. Na woye de domafo pe. Na obua ma bunu peja, bunu nchempem epeja. Na wugya Santehene nso moye na Santehene. No wo hwe na Sante so na wadaroma mira ebeye den. And then the besi. Another one, me papa, and when I say me papa newa, I've explained it over and over. Say I believe a condom no, it goes beyond just Doma, Asante, Drabe, Achiremasu, Niade. A condom is in 8 family. Diana, Oyoko, Asechiri, Asuna, Bretio, Ekwana, Ene Adako no Momaka. A condom, Nina, that's what consists of it. Na mesia jahene eye aduanani. So we are aduanani dia. Then clearly we are me papa. So I will pass comments on nyoma bi a waka efa Yewura Santehene ne IGP ho. Na respectfully we will share our ideas on it. I think as a high time one, you make some of these commentaries not because it is your personal agenda, but it must have a national connotation. As a bibi etechiri. If so we are lawyer ni wuni mumra. It's only mradia. And Ajimambedu, it must be grounded in law. It must be solid in law. If say judge ni watina judge read the constitution over and over. Na say ne would so a problem when enyema bi asanteman Santehene dia ni mu eya. It does a personal fight against Yewura Santehene. And I say it is diabolically being wrapped as a national agenda. And then you be this uncle mono. So yentie missing Ajimambedu. Mira also the asema.
Adia bi ekoso. Na wana beka. Yeah. Adia bi okoso ga na wana beka. Yeah. Ajimambedu dey only say da bia ba bia kwam. Na bibi wo ho na beka. Yeah. Ya na man hwe bia lo ka. So beka. Ngwa we beka. Yeah. Yewura. Adia bi ekoso. Yeah. Abane de nim se tumi nyina ya tro te se John Dramani Mahama. Onne ga na nyina ya de yetumi ama no. Yeah. Yewura na aswe no bi te se police, bi te se military ni nyina. Ahisha na se ya na moa. Yeah. Yewura na no bi koso nkran. Yeah. Kana for you be am piasie. Yeah. Anwie. Ye ni se o we ye bia. Abetwam. Yewura na no other president BSc Kumasi. Yeah. IGP Okaho. Yeah. IGP wo ho oye de. Atusa. Na bi na mu. Yeah. Ghana o ayi bisu ye original ma Ghana nyina yewura de hu kura ne say na nsan GJ Ghana Journalists Association but yeah ba was big massive but they no kura na ha nti me ka say no nti me ka no na man panyina ya to abade ma no na oba na bi no so ba ka ho na ba ki ka ba flag enya Ghana flag yewura IGP the oye sadie ne bi Americans ni nyina o ma me do ma me no mpese as a matter of priority onko slem man sini ahemfo agase no onko ya sadie ne bi ma be buno ha ombra onya ba ko ma na vice o ma do ma onko ya bi ma regions ni nyina se anya bi ama regions ni nyina now the baby back open over here. Me, I can better talk to you. Me sorry Ghana. Says I didn't know that the cassette here. Says me man and Kwaso, me move it there. That womb, I feel when we maybe 60 years. Me take Ghana as I did the Akwaso. You're right. A one banana or the buy. Oh, so okay, I know. Sikasa Mangambo. Oh, you're not correct. Sikasa, 1 year. I come out. Ghana ni bia be kase sikasa onye yie no me
Najma Bedu say onti ase say eye IGP Christian Tetu Yonu ama santehene kwan amana ye eye de wo yi say oye eye parade wo oye guard of honor eye mo friends guard of honor na de be ya say wo inspect parade. Is that clear? Onti ase. Secondly so GJ for ye program bi na Jamal Bedu so won tiase say santehene banana sante flag edin anim. Now yamwa na meni mirror eni nkomo akra na Jamal Bedu ma meni woni nkomo akra. So because you were a judge, I am going to have the conversation grounded in law. I will have it grounded in world politics and examples across the world. Ni ehunu say ade no nya Ghana ntokwa na wo fighting for. You are fighting for your own personal thing wrapped under I said, yeah, only Koma Ghana, on Koma Ghana, Mira. Messi Almabedu, the Awuye won't Koma Ghana. The can what read the Constitution, Article 271, very clear on what it says. Article 271 of the Constitution says that the institution of chieftaincy, together with its traditional council, is hereby guaranteed. So you can the institution of chieftaincy is guaranteed. Flag and eka santemai ho ansa ne yeba be Ghana no eka santemai chieftaincy ho. It's yeka it is guaranteed. Flag ne ka ho, it is guaranteed. Na santehene ba na dom di nanimu a eka santemai ni chieftaincy ne ho ansa ne yeba ka Ghana ho. So if the Constitution guarantees the institution of chieftaincy, it guarantees it. And you see, not only does it guarantees the chieftaincy institution, it even goes ahead to admonish any state institution, whether parliament or every other institution, say obetimi amend anything that touches or derogates a chieftaincy institution without first being brought to a National House of Chiefs. So Article 272, or say Parliament and by extension any public authority cannot pass any law or take any action that detracts or derogates from honor and the dignity of the institution of chieftaincy. It's a santemine folk omo flag. And then omo ya sante, ema sante hine na sante hine. You cannot pass emra to take away that flag simply because we have joined a country called Ghana. After all, Ghana is a unitary state. And unity is not achieved by erasing the history or the identity of people. Unity is achieved by acknowledging the diversity in the existence of the people within the country. What is this continuous attack? Constitution recognizes customary law under Article 11.3. Under Article 26.1, the state must protect and promote customs. It says antihini ye bibi na it borders on customs. Clearly, inspecting of parade, displaying of flag, performance of ceremonial duties as antihini yeno. It has got nothing to do with usurping the sovereignty of Ghana. Because the war it is within the exact constitutional mandate here. It's in Anajima Medu. Siete ho. Now catch say Santehine inspected a guard of honor, any guard of Deben Debe, it's a chance say, oh, you say the presidential. Don't mean yes, sir. If a ceremonial parade is not a political activity, it is constitutionally protected, a cultural function. Yes, ceremonial parade, not for just heads of state. Huh? Yes, ceremonial parade, and your heads of state in Gua, will be a minister of foreign affairs who might be so. Obedru baby, yet me a ceremonial parade, mano, no inspect it. Yana and Danny Abudu, or baby or one, you bet me a ceremonial parade, mano, will inspect me. And what damba? Or change it to a ceremonial parade or a yaw chimemua, you bet me I'm changing inspect it. And there is nothing wrong. Government can inspect ceremonial parade, and there is nothing wrong. Even religious leaders bet me inspect a cadet corner, a ceremonial parade. There is nothing wrong. It does not bother. It is not about the sovereignty of this country. While we are discomforted by the actions of Santehene, so you are wrapping it against, say, as a fight on principle, and your principle, Papa. Wadaroma, Santehena Diana war, you know. Say ye will cry the flag, say will cry, will inspecting parade, those were you. These are all part of the culture which is guaranteed under the constitution. What you say? It's a problem with a Santehena. Be clear, don't wrap it as if say fight for a year Asantem, a Ghana mine. Don't do that. Huh? Don't do that. Yeti Kroma say, the amount for the brain enemy say, Dabon for or mo flag, Gonja for or mo flag, Gamashi, womo or mo flag. Oko be you mikro mumfanti for ya, asafufu bebre wo mo flag, wo bia wo bi. It does not challenge the sovereignty of the republic. And then Ghana and Kwana could do your mind. And for that matter, your mind, Sabio, your friend say, Untimi, because you are a nation, you cannot have your friend say a flag within a nation. Since when? Ubedru United Kingdom. Say United Kingdom is ruled by King Charles, which is a country on its own. But Scotland for a flag, although they are within the United Kingdom. And to Scotland war flag, does that threaten the sovereignty of the United Kingdom? Ubedru United Kingdom, although Wales is within United Kingdom, but Wales war flag. Ukodru Germany, Bavaria is within Germany, but Germany edudu wa omo national flag. Bavaria also omo flag. Quebec, Udru Canada, Quebec has their flag, although they are within Canada. Ukodru South Africa, Zulu fall within South Africa, but Zulu fall omo flag. Enti edi ane tiny and nibrene nanajima bedu adey. Me baba adey. Ghana is not a uniform state. There are different diversity. And that diversity in the beauty of Ghana ever out. So if you believe that unity requires sameness, it cannot be. Ghana's constitution rejects the idea of sameness. It says, "Obi unforget the identity. Na yemra ni nyina yenkamom ni yenyam asante for remfi omo ho, doma for remfi omo ho, egonja for da bi yenya sa na constitution e paka. We are a unitary state. Efe. Gamanche be ne de. Efe. Fantemai be ne de. Efe. That is what we talk about. In diversity lies strength. Enti na bedu adewe wa ya ebredu se obi jai me papa jai emwa wate yenyai wate asante ne no yeni ntokwa wona ye yanka wode ntokwa bi ebemu Santehene ye na ade the kingdom of Asante is strengthened by Ghana's unity because Ghana Asante da ne mind ye be ye Ghana no ye kwosere se beka ho Gonja da ne mind ye kwosere se beka ho and ya patchy and it's so beautiful. It doesn't threaten the sovereignty of Ghana. And Ajima bedu why ye bia eye. It is a national cohesion. Let us discuss national cohesion. Don't wrap it. In any case, Santehene said to na who would not say, yeah, mano, a God of Deben Debe or Santemem. It won't yes here. Santehene say tutu we kura de anya santimamu o. Wotimi kɔ Trinidad and Tobago enie ni amana inspect guard of honor. Ene de ben parade. We Santehene say tutu and what Trinidad and Tobago a ye man inspect guard of parade ni ho awan. Obi kurum. Eti ye man inspect parade na aye de be. Also your hene pon. O brandi ni ye na brandi ni mu ye dua. Ye be mo inspect parade ni bi. Santehene na inspect parade wo Morocco. We Morocco. Santehene wadru Morocco a wo inspect parade. Eno so ko inspect parade ni etu Morocco hene de Santehene bi. Ko inspect parade ni etu Morocco hene de Santehene bi. Santehene contributing the quota to the development of our nation. No two ways about it. Dabon crisis by we called on a Santehene. Why? Chieftaincy dispute bebre. Wabua. Asantehene otum for educational fund. Wabua. Health. Wabua. Development of our nation. Moko IMF ne moko yedia. Wano na mo friend so won fani trimeje. No adi tra kwaje. Eti ye friend so amra me inspector guard of parade ne na ye dia bai. Ana ye dia bai. Ana ye dia bai. Ado mai so wo personal ntokwa bi a woni Asantehene ni Asantemai wa. Don't wrap it as though a year will fight for. What do I say? Northern Ireland, no money now flag. But they are within a year. Your friend say the United Kingdom. Who be do United States here bitimu States ni bebre wo personal flags. Connecticut, New York. If you say omo gidi say a states be na kekambo mu form the United States of America. So they have the Constitution of Connecticut. They have the Constitution of New York. They have other several constitutions. Munyai rough. Why? Munyai. Some countries, Scotland, near the UK, they are not collapsing because Obi war. Why you be a year? Why you be a year? Why you be a year? What the tiny ntokwa aba eye unuanom entem for far too long. Ebrana so say me papa ube jai. Why? Jai. Enya de papa. Jai. Ye beto aba na wo ye said be ya NDC be wini bono. Ampa you succeeded. If say ko make the argument say baby no mu ba, baby peja ba ako. Baby no mu ba, baby peja ye nyina. Ti bentuma baby no mu no ba, baby peja ye nyina no. Ana me nuanom bunu fo di mirika kwato ma ya NDC. Ena NDC no aba. Oma hu ne say Asantehene da so ye Santehene. Bibia no abetumi aya afa ho. Afa ye ne yes wo ma inspective parade ni ade nso a. Eno nso mu ne ye akutukum. Eni say wutwa wo nuanom bunu fo ntro. Etinye bebinom ne ba bebe pija ba ako. Nemom bebinom ba Santehene ye ne Santehene. Bebinom kwa Santehene ye ne Santehene. Sana me expect say na na doma hene me ankasa me papa wo be pagya ho say de be ya bebi no ba be pagya wo nso e bisa be pagya wo ankasa ho me say ene be wo a be ya ehu hia wa ye bia twaso yankasa wa ye bia twaso de wo ye nyina ya politics. Santehene nye bibia go against constitution. Okura ne flag and na ekura ne deda ansa ne yebe form Ghana no e the constitution abeto no. And the constitution has recognized. It is guaranteed. Customary law is guaranteed. Eti dia be ne ntokwa hunu na da bia wo ma ye abunufo keka abunufo ne santifo tribom sa adai. Oh, why you be a twaso? Why you be a twaso? Why you be a twaso? Na do why ne?
Brigade Commander ASP Kafi Jamal is now briefing to attention.
Yeah, yewura sante ni wadama. Mira, mesrɛ wo. Ɛyɛ a wo nso pejam dodo. Why? Pejamu ne so dodo. Mane mra fam kakra. Na afei ni yenye ni se. Why? You said ɛyɛ a wo si pejam na God of honor na ehu ho fan ne ɛyɛ a na ehi. Ande me say minya sante ni anka be me hi pa. Ɛnyɛ sɛ minya sante ni anka be me hi pa. Adai. Mo asante fo etukura mu due bo. Mo ka ho. Mo ka ho. Oh, ɛyɛ a mo so mo nya abotre, mo nsusu. Wo mo sɛ yɛ sante ni asante de. Na mo nsusu. Why? Na ayi we no na ɔhene ba sie do so. Wɔsi ne nyina nye hu fi na buroni ba hɔ na bɛmena. That is on the lighter side anyway.
All right, so for that was in summer. That was in summer. Okay, the chief FIFA edit to judge say you need the indemnity. We'll definitely be giving you more updates as all of these particular various events continue to unfold. So the issue of the chief FIFA no, me no can say maybe I could do CCR no.
Can you give me 2 E's to do that? Yes, because frankly, I know the breakfast to access the phone. Okay, then. I'll do that. In the next 1 hour. In the next 1 hour, I'll get it. Can you? Please, I need to go to the office. Can you drop by there? I think it's so much better. Please, we're supposed to be spending time together. And I plan this out. Thank you. Oh, please. This is. Yes, this is Tasha Princess. Can you give me 2 E's to do that? Yes, because frankly, I know the breakfast to access the phone. Okay, then. I'll do that. In the next 1 hour. In the next 1 hour, I'll get it. Can you? Please, I need to go to the office. Can you drop by there? I think it's so much better. Please, we're supposed to be spending time together. And I plan this out. Thank you. Oh, please. This is.
Okay, for your twaso na ye call the camp of Paul Adom Ochre. Recently, in Sembi Evetuja about the Kutuka International Airport, the renaming of Kutuka International Airport. Now, NDC who happens to be the majority in Parliament. Almost in Simbi Ebetuja said they are renaming the Kutuka International Airport to Accra International Airport. Honestly, that was the name previously, and now it was being used. If you've traveled from Ghana and as if Amanone Aba, you realize that even some of the initial scra some of the buildings embodiment buildings AIA, what I say, AIA, that is Accra International Airport. So the name was later reversed to Kutuka International Airport. But Abraham Minoka say, majority in Parliament, say they will be changing the name, reverting it back from Kutuka to Accra International Airport. Now, even before I do Edini ebe revert akwa Accra International Airport. The issue na manfo bibre air project na omo air can say ye ebe yanka edino yensesa edino na yefanto Dr. Kwame Nkrumah for how he actually helped Ghana gain independence. But then amanfo bi air patch say Kutuka e de to no Kutuka no you be overthrow Kwame Nkrumah. Na yepese celebrate obi na yedi edin to Ghana ye airport so a it shouldn't be a Kutuka. Now, this particular issue, ama Minoka se Paul Adom Ochre, say in some or the ababe tuja and amount for any engine because Paul Adom Ochre edi ababe tuja say nipa na ene yesi celebrating na yemfa bibia ewo Ghana yemfa ni din to so no Paul Adom Ochre patch say sa nipa no se bio na onya papa sa Kwame Nkrumah was not the god and the saint. Ameno and most of first thing. Now, this particular in some of the two journal, it has really raised a lot of eyebrows among four parties. Say we are not shocked because MPP for Ankasa, they don't like Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. In fact, history out to some way they oppose Kwame Nkrumah ideology and then the government and also the CPP formation. But before then, you would see in Sema Paul Adomoche or the two jam no casino raise a whole lot of controversy amount for Bibri or much or more party say we are not really shocked, and as they are not really shocked that the argument that Ebimo making is a beyanka change airport in front of Kwame Nkrumah. People are not the New Patriotic Party, which is now being led by Baumia. A fraction of it Paul Adomoche or Kanhono Achi Mafias. They are saying say Kwame Nkrumah or you be not or worthy and not deserving for us to even name our airport after him. Why? Because Kwame Nkrumah, he had his own infractions. Yenkutie in Sama Paul Adomoche Edituja. When we come back, we will continue this particular.
Look at it critically. It's becoming very obvious that what all this is about. It's about settling political scores. It has nothing to do with renaming an airport.
Really?
It has everything to do with settling a major political part of our history, which is the sanctity and the 100% goodness of our first president and the illustrious Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. The point of the history is that since Nkrumah died, he has become much bigger than when he was alive. In the year 2000, the British Broadcasting Corporation, which did the survey, and in that survey, many of us as university students voted for Kwame Nkrumah because he was competing with Nelson Mandela, and Nelson Mandela was South African. And we didn't understand how the African story of the century can be told without the emasculation of colonialism and imperialism. And you can't attribute that to Mandela. The removal of colonialism, imperialism, and the fight against neocolonialism is certainly Nkrumah's fight. So we felt that it is actually unfair to compare Nelson Mandela to Kwame Nkrumah. We even thought that John Mensah Saba had done more than Nelson Mandela for Africa, but that's beside the point. So Nkrumah then ends up by the year 2001, 2002 as this ultimate political hero who has no blemish. Now, since 2017, at the outset of Akufo-Addo's government, he began to demonstrate a certain penchant for the history of Ghana. In his maiden independence speech, and this was the first time it happened on Independence Day, he almost gave a history lecture to the audience at the Independence Square, to the point where it was becoming very long. There has been some concerns then at that time about that, and I got personally involved because I attended a forum at the Socialist Forum to discuss these things on the celebration of 24th February, which is always the big day. 24th February is the day Nkrumah was overthrown. So this year, the overthrow of Nkrumah is going to be 60 years long. And it had always been planned by some of these actors that on the 60th anniversary of Nkrumah, let us restore Nkrumah's image 100% over Ghana. This Kotoka's name on an important edifice like the airport is the remaining last leg of the nemesis of Nkrumah that must be taken away, because they have been able to establish Nkrumah as the hero and the 100% hero since the BBC issue. Now, what we have been pointing out is that they started by arguing that Kotoka is a coup maker. Okay. And then that argument appears to be shifting. If you listen to Ambassador Kwesi Pratt, he was concerned that Mahama Ayariga is turning this whole thing into a tribal matter. That what is Zakra and what is all that? It's not about a tribal matter. It is about removing the image of some coup maker, as they say. Okay, you just talked about Arthur Kennedy, who then mentioned the coup maker thing relating to Rawlings. And then we also know about Franklin Kujo, who put up how Nkrumah's regime was murderous. What we would like Ghanaians to see, and at the end of the day, the government will make its decision. And then we will have to decide whether it's a political decision that we vote on the next time or whatever we do. But we have to, we cannot ignore history. We have to make obeisance to history. The history is that from 1960 up to the time Nkrumah was overthrown in 1966, he was a despot. He was not good for Ghana. He was terrible for Ghana. The 1960 constitution, which Nkrumah put together, which I have in front of me, has Nkrumah's name buried in the Constitution, Article 10. Correct. Where it is talking about Kwame Nkrumah as president of Ghana. So it's talking about Kwame Nkrumah as president of Ghana in that Article 10. There is also a bit more. It is in this same 1960 Constitution that Nkrumah decided that there was an amendment to the 1960 Constitution in 1964 And if you look at the amendments, it will interest you to know that the amendments that was provided in the 1964 amendment included the fact that Kwame Nkrumah was now able to dismiss judges. Yes. And also, yes, he was able to dismiss judges. And also, the national flag of Ghana was changed. He also banned all political parties in 1964. And people were imprisoned. Preventive Detention Act was created in 1958. You might not think of it as a bad law. It is only the usage that you can criticize. Because what happened is that Nkrumah had been attacked by a bomb. And it was becoming very scary between Nkrumah and the opposition. The violence was growing on the part of the opposition, I must say. And Nkrumah needed something that will allow the intelligence agencies to work. So that's why PDA was set up. So in fact, if you look at the usage of PDA, between 1958, when it was set up, and about 1961, it was minimal. But from 1961 to 1964, the PDA was railroading everywhere and every home was afraid. This was the state of affairs in Ghana. Now, because we are not accustomed to our history that much, and all of us, many of us talking today, were not born in that time, we all don't know that, and we are railroaded into Nkrumah Assembly.
That's a situation where you could be arrested and put in custody without the intervention of a court.
Not just without the intervention of the courts, but on the basis that the Minister for Interior is thinking in his mind that you are preparing to do something wrong. This is a fundamental departure from the processes of the jurisprudence of the criminal court. It's just a fundamental and a wicked departure from it, that somebody can think in his head that he suspects that you are doing something wrong and then you are picked up and arrested. This was the state of affairs in Ghana at the time. Now, there was nowhere else to go because if you look at the amendment of the constitution, Nkrumah had made himself a life president.
Correct.
And he had also made CPP the only legitimate party. Now, this is the situation that led many African countries to civil wars in the 80s. Because these leaders in the 60s, a lot of these Nkrumah students who had won independence for their various countries through Nkrumah's efforts, had also become despots and were thinking like that. So Kenneth Kaunda of Zambia and all of those people, they were there till the 80s. Ofebwanye, they were there. And part of the reason why Ghana did not experience those civil wars in the late 80s and the 90s was Kotoka. That Kotoka came in and said, no, we can't do this. The only reasonable way to do was to remove him. How do we test Kotoka's fidelity to the nation and he and his friends? So they decided to do a coup. They took Nkrumah out and they began to rearrange Ghana on the path of another constitutional democracy. And they left office and they left in the hands of the constitutionally elected group of people. I must say that being an apostle of the right-wing philosophy, one thing I've always worried, even as a student, is that why did they ban CPP from the 69 election? I thought that was blatantly wrong. And that is what led to the division in our country that we are still suffering. Buzia and his people should really have allowed Nkrumah to run the election. If Nkrumah had come and he had lost the election, Buzia had won. Nkrumah would have been minority leader in parliament in 68, 70, 71. And I guess the coup may not have come. Nkrumah may have won elections again in 74. And Nkrumah, if he left as he left and still was part of politics, would now have realized the kinds of things he was doing and why the coup itself was necessary. I'm sure that if you take Nkrumah's brain at 1954, he will support the coup. If in 1954 Nkrumah will support the 1966 coup. Oliver Vomaho, when Akufo-Addo was president, thought that the soldiers should overthrow him because the government was very bad. If Oliver Vomaho had lived in Nkrumah's time, I'm sure he would have been a suicide bomber because it was much worse. Now, this is the state of affairs, and Kotoka was the rescuer. So we grow up later on and see coups, and we say he's also another coup maker. No, but he was a rescuer. The South Africa airport is named after Oliver Reginald Tambo.
That's right.
He was a terrorist on the list of everyone in the world, UN and everybody. But
well, even Mandela was on terrorist
the airport
list.
was named after him. So what we are saying is that let's put the history in proper perspective. If after we all have acquainted ourselves with this history and then understood why Kotoka may be considered a hero, for which reason the airport will be named after him, not just a coup, but the kind of circumstance that occurred, then if after all that, the people still want to name...
So that from your point of view, Kotoka will be a liberator. That for a period, for almost 10 years, nobody could breathe in this country. There was nothing like freedom of expression, freedom of association, because Nkrumah had become a terrible despot. Correct?
That's the point. Not just that. The 1960 Constitution, and in Ghana we have had 60 Constitution, we had 69, we had 79. I dare say that the 69 Constitution will work today If you look at the provisions of it, they will work today. 79 will work today. They should tell us whether 1960 constitution will work today. A constitution that says that the president can sack judges. A constitution that makes no provision for a presidential election. Zero provision for it. The election of the president occurs when the president resigns, when the president is not there, there's nothing like on this date we are going to have an election.
And it's actually named in the constitution.
Yes. Now see what happened. Nkrumah was popular. Yes, he was. In 1951, he won the election. 54, he won the election. 56, he won the election. You cannot win 3 successive elections in those days if you are not popular. But here is the charge. In 1960, Nkrumah knew that if he ran an election on universal adult suffrage, he might not win. So he decided to obscure the election and call it a plebiscite and do something funny. Fair enough. Ghanaians were waiting that, okay, another 4 years, because we are now turned into a constitutional regime. So every 4 years, we must have election. Another 4 years will come, we'll have election. 64, everyone was waiting for the election. What happened? The proper coup d'etat. Nkrumah overthrew the constitution as a president with the parliament and said that we will not have any election anymore. CPP is the only party. All other political parties are banned. A president whose finance minister can run away from parliament. A president who sits in a parliament that 1/3 have run away. A parliament that was elected in 1956 and no election of the parliament until 1966 when the coup came. 10 years of MPs in the house, no election. This is the state of affairs in Ghana. And these our friends, Kwesi Pratt and Co, would like us to say that this is okay. We shouldn't say anything about it. How should we not talk about it? When we say bring up the history, let's discuss, then Nkrumah say, no, don't talk about it. No, don't talk about it. Why should we not talk about this? Now, this is what has helped Ghana. This is why Ghana is different from other countries. Kotoka is the reason. Kotoka are free for Ankara. They are the reason why Ghana is different from other countries. That's why we didn't have a despotic leader who had been in power 20 years, 10 years, 25, 30, 45. When Ghanaian young people hear that, they wonder, what is that? Somebody has been in power 45 years. Museveni in Uganda. Hey, no Ghanaian young person can relate to that. They can't relate to that because of Kotoka. If it's not for Kotoka, Nkrumah would have been president till we finish school.
But when Jerry took over, he almost did 20 years.
But that is why there was such excessive pressure on Jerry. If you read the 1988 report of compulsorily go and democratize, that's why there was such much pressure on him. And that's why Jerry succumbed to that pressure, because he was scared of the Nkrumah situation. So much as he was strong, he was being told that, Charlie, don't become an Nkrumah, the coup will come. So let's go and democratize. You are popular, you can win the election. And that's what happened.
Okay, so that is in Sema Paul Adom Oche or the Tuja about Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. We'll be looking at this as particular update and be giving you more update as all of this particular issues will continue to unfold.